Since 2009, over 100,000 Christians have been killed in the country of Nigeria. 18,000 churches have been burned and 12 million people have been displaced. This year alone, 2025, over 7,000 Christians have been killed, and there's nothing about it in our media here in the United States. We have a video today by Bill Maher. He breaks down some of these things and his surprise and frustration in his own capacity for the lack of coverage.
Nigeria, I mean, the fact that this issue has not gotten on people's radar.
Right, no one's talking about it.
It's pretty amazing. If you don't know what's going on in Nigeria, your media sources suck. You are in a bubble. And again, I'm not a Christian, but they are systematically killing the Christians in Nigeria. They've killed over 100,000 since 2009. They've burned 18,000 churches. This is so much more. These are their Islamists, Boko Haram. This is so much more of a genocide attempt than what is going on in Gaza. They are literally attempting to wipe out the Christian population of an entire country. Where are the kids protesting this?
Thank you.
I love what he says there. Where are the kids protesting this?
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately, we look at a country like Nigeria that's a very poor country. The government of Nigeria is stating the reason for the battle is over land. And so their own country does not consider it what we would call genocide. And so consequently, there is not a lot of voice giving to that. They don't have a lot to offer financially. They don't have a lot of resources. They don't have minerals, things like that there's financial gain for. And so when we see a country like this, well, that's war torn. I mean, this has been going on for nearly 15 years that this has been happening, where they've been wiping out Christians, and yet we've heard nothing. Now, when we have something tragic happen in our own country, obviously it's all over mainstream media, it's all over the news. But even Bill Maher, who claims, he's not a Christian, if he's giving a voice to this, why is our media not speaking up what's happening? And more importantly, what can people even do when it comes to the wiping out of a whole Christian community there?
One of the frustrating things is the United States government is not calling it a genocide. Now, why wouldn't they be doing that? There's not a lot of money there, is the best that through our research we could find out. There's just not a lot of heart desire by the American people because it's unknown. So the lack of coverage means it's not front of mind, which means it's not a priority, which means our government doesn't really have any buy-in. We want to see that change.
I think the challenging part that plays out on this is that it's not just Nigeria. Syria has more of a problem of wiping out Christians. We see it in Indonesia. We see it in these countries that are predominantly Muslim that are, and these are extremists. Well, I want to be clear that we're not saying that all Muslims are doing this, but on the extremist end of things is where we see them genocidally wiping out Christians. And so I think the question then becomes, so we can look at our military. We have the ability to contact our senators and write them letters.
That's right.
This is what our role is. They work for us. And so part of your voice is to write your local senators to shine a light on what's happening. But I think the first thing that we can do as Christians where we miss out on is praying boldly and consistently. There's a global prayer network through Open Door. They have this prayer app, and they're calling for 21 days of prayer for persecuted Christians. And it's specifically focusing on protection for the Christians there, but also protection for clergy there. And so you said this in one of our recent videos, that prayer is not inaction. Prayer is the catalyst for all the action. And so I think as we take a moment every single day that we can, because we don't see with our own eyes, we don't see it happening here. It's very easy to look and go, it's just poor old Africa. This is what's always been happening there.
I think that's what our government is saying.
Yes.
There's nothing really there for us, so we don't care. Mm-hmm. But you notice they care a lot about other places and other things, other wars. They're doing those things. I think we can redirect some of those energies in this other direction. I do think you're right. I think, yes, prayer is not inaction. But it doesn't mean we're ever saying there should be no action, to make that super duper clear. Because we got some pushback on the last video sounding like we're pacifists. That's not the case here, guys. We're never calling for pacifism. In fact, again, the book of James says, let every man be swift to listen, slow to speak, and even slower to react. It doesn't say don't react. It says slower to react. Why? Because the wrath of man does not produce the righteousness of God. what God is saying there, what we're interpreting that to mean is you're praying for the next moves you should be taking.
Yep.
That doesn't mean no moves. And it doesn't mean we should be putting up with this kind of stuff. We should be speaking to anyone we know and letting them know about this cause, because many people don't even know that there's a cause to be getting behind. Again, you said at the beginning, there is a lot of outrage right now because we've seen a prominent Christian voice, Charlie Kirk, murdered. And a lot of people are looking for a way to get in the fight. Here's a way you can do that. Here's people actually dying right now. So we can't help a man that's dead, but what we can do is step into the breach here, and we can start helping people that are still alive. And we can force our government through our voices, through whatever platform we have, we can bring attention to this issue and we can get them moving. That's the thing. Once it gets on the forefront of their thing, if we make a loud enough noise, they'll have to respond to it at least in one way or another. And again, these are pretty easy ways, but it really does start with prayer. It starts with contacting people who can make a difference. Yeah. And it's letting others around you know what's actually happening there so that they can start making their voices known, and it starts to spread that way.
Yeah, social media is a powerful tool. It can be used as a powerful tool. And so one way you can help spread your voice on this is to share this stuff on your social media platforms to help bring light what's happening. If you want to donate, I think that we have to be very careful
always
who we donate to, because not all organizations are organizations that are taking the money, giving, and actually using it. But I think Open Door Ministries is a long-term ministry that has actually been sound in the way that they've handled things. They fund medical aid. They fund church reconstruction. There's also the Voice of the Martyrs, and they deliver materials and assistance to people after they've been attacked. You can send aid to Church in Need, and they help fortify churches, and they support them. And then Global Christian Relief, they focus on education for displaced children and women's empowerment. And so there are some organizations, as I've looked into this, that I believe are sound organizations that, look, every little bit helps. Every little bit helps. And so we can, with our resources that we have here in the United States, is that we also have the ability to help donate to people that are in need. In fact, the Bible talks about money all the time and helping the poor, helping the needy. And so this is a way that you can step in with your resources to do that.
Yeah, there's hope. And there is action that can be taken on this event. We can take action now, and we can be forceful with the people around us. Who's your sphere of influence? Start letting them know. Take actions that you can take, assess the actions, and obviously pray. Pray for these people. Pray for our leadership here in this country to take notice. Engage with this conflict.
You know, as we bring this video to a close, I want to highlight one thing here. Since 2025, over 600 Christian leaders, this would be either pastors or priests, have been abducted. It's part of a broader nearly 8,000 Christian abductions. When we look at what's happening to these pastors being abducted, what we see happening, this is the thing that I love. We see other men stepping forward in light of what's happening and willing to lay down their life and go, the church must go on. They have an eternal view. We talk about this on our podcast all the time, having an eternal mindset. And when we do that, we recognize that what we do in this life matters. If we die here for our faith, we are glorified in heaven. We're going to leave you guys with a video of a group of Nigerian church members that are worshiping God in a burned down church. And the pastor of their church is leading them in worship, and it's extremely beautiful. So pray, reach out to people. But let's bring a light to what's happening to the people in Nigeria. Check this out.
We praise your name.